Paul Kimmage, page 7, comes up with an angle that wasn't fully expecting. We all saw, for instance, and we don't know the nature of the chewing gum, but I think everybody would have noticed Tiger Woods munching on chewing gum on the back nine on Sunday. Thought not too much of it. And now I'm thinking more of it. Now I want Woods to tell us exactly what he was chewing. All perfectly legal, we should stress.
Absolutely. To start with, what I love about this piece is the picture with it. And it's of, basically Paul is talking about his time caddying for Nick Faldo. And there's a picture of him standing beside Faldo, and Paul is throwing a blade of grass up into the air as if to read the wind for Faldo. But if you read the piece, you'll realise how he was floundering at the time, even to the extent of getting the muesli bar wrong. And
too much sugar, said
Too
Faldo.
much sugar. But it's funny, at the press conference after Tiger won the Masters, he was asked the question about chewing gum, and there were chuckles in the media room, you know, as if someone is actually so stupid as to ask him, did chewing gum help you? And I would have been that innocent Joe sitting there thinking, yeah, what an absurd question, you know. You read Paul's piece and suddenly you realise that it may not have been Wrigley's juicy fruit he was chewing. It may have been something very different. And it's basically something containing CBD, a non-intoxicating cannabinoid found in cannabis. Now, I am beginning to despair of sport. I go back to a time when there were winners and losers, and that was it, and it was a clean slate. But we're now at the point where he may have been, or this is the perception, the question rather, that's being asked, was he getting some kind of an advantage from the gum he was chewing? And did the gum maybe calm his nerves on the back nine, where in Augusta the back nine can be absolutely harrowing if you're up there? And maybe Francesco Molinari is currently looking for that gum and thinking, I should have been chewing gum on the 12th when it all went wrong.
It seems he was alerted to this by what he calls a top-class amateur with aspirations of going pro. Hi Paul, past few weeks a marked increase in professionals chewing gum. I wanted to contact you, see if you were aware. The PGA Tour recently issued an update on the use of CBD products the week before the Masters, warning them to be careful. And it seems there was a newsletter sent to the pros, obtained by a website called Marijuana Moment, and it was warning players basically to be advised that some CBD products, basically CBD has been taken off the WADA ban list in the last year, so this is totally legal. But they were letting the players know that some CBD products may also contain THC, and THC is still prohibited. THC is the part that gets you high, basically.
Which is hard to imagine that helping you playing golf.
I mean, if a player was like rubbing the grass and laughing, then you would presume some THC had snuck into their gum. And so Kimmage kind of goes, it seems, looking for a copy of the newsletter for the players, and the PGA Tour say the newsletter was confidential, only shared with eligible PGA Tour players, and therefore we're unable to share that information with third parties. We apologise. And he's talked to an insider, a player, and the player is saying that the players want it banned or they'll start taking it soon to level the playing field, which is kind of where it's at.
It will be interesting now to see what happens next, because I don't think any of us were aware of that this was a thing and that's what was happening. I hadn't seen it written anywhere before.
No.
So the follow-up now and the follow-up questions and press conferences.
Well, you can rest assured that Tiger's going to be asked about this.
It should be, yeah. Now, it's not illegal, you know, but the benefits of CBD are pain relief, anxiety relief, which again might be useful on the back of Augusta, as you say, appetite stimulation. I did hear him in an offhanded, jokey way now that I think about it. He was asked about gum. I don't know, was it the same press conference, but he did say, oh, it stops him wanting to eat all the time.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Okay, so it turns out that one of the benefits of CBD is appetite stimulation. Oh, that's appetite stimulation. That's to make you hungry. Oh yeah, because the munchies. Okay, so appetite stimulation. Sorry, it doesn't suppress it. Nobody here inhaled, okay? Neil, stop. Mood management and more. But mood management could be something as well. So I guess, look, there probably is an advantage there, but if it's been taken off the WADA list, then I don't know, is it
I think we're in that grey area that we seem to be getting into an awful lot more these days.
Yeah. I guess you don't want to get to a point where 80% of the players are munching and chewing gum, and everybody is saying, I'm not sure about this.
And then online sales of it go through the roof, and everybody wants the chewing gum when they're out golfing.
Yeah, because he sort of, I think that's, I don't think Paul at the end of the piece is saying this is outrageous. He's almost making the point, does this look right? You know, there have been times, said the Tour Pro, when I've witnessed sporting events that have left me emotionless. Maradona, the hand of God, Ben Johnson and his bloodshot eyes, Tonya Harding, Nancy Kerrigan, it didn't feel or look right. And golfers taking CBD doesn't feel or look right. That's kind of the point, I suppose.
You see, what you're looking at here is what happens next? Where does the development of this gum go? You know, and who is going to be in control of that development? You know, it's just, the moment you get to this issue of what can be in any way remotely performance enhancing, even if it's legal, is it morally right? Are you playing to the spirit of the game if you're looking for something like that? And people will always do it. Of course they will. You know, I'm playing golf tomorrow. I'd love to try it just to see what it would do for me. I'd be curious to see what it would do for me. But where's it going?
The start of a column right there, Vincent.
Everything's the start of a column.
Well, no, it's true. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, Woods may well turn around and say, yeah, I was taking CBD chewing gum. My back is in a bad way. It helps with the pain relief. Stops me having to take so many painkillers. Who knows? You know, we don't know. Yeah. And it's not. This is not just.
But
about
when something's
Woods.
not on the list, like, people find a way to justify it. I mean, I know it's not comparable, but Maria Sharapova and Meldonium, like, that wasn't on the WADA list. She said she needed it for health reasons.
Yeah.
It's on the list. She fails, and then everybody's talking about Meldonium. Is this something that's going to go?
Going into the area of pain management in rugby, and I mean, this whole area is just leading in one direction, and it's not a good direction.
No, there's a general sense across sport. You're going up to the line and you're taking it as a matter of course. And if it's legal, well, it's legal. End of discussion. And people are going to do that because they want every advantage they can.
Of course,
you know? But it's interesting. So if you were wondering what players were chewing, there's a possibility that was it. Maybe it was Wrigley's for 5 hours.
Maybe it was.
We don't know. But did you enjoy the Masters?
Loved it. It's such a magical place to go to, Joe. And in a selfish way, Tiger winning, it was such an easy story to write. It just, you know, I mean, I was actually thinking, with about an hour to go, if Patrick Cantlay wins, I've got to go to Google. Even if Xander Schauffele wins, I've got to go to Google. I don't cover a lot of golf. So to me, the story, the redemptive story of Tiger winning, it just was an easy one to write. And then we had the extra bonus of the extra time, because with the storm supposedly coming in, they started so early. Yeah. So the Masters was ending at 7:30 Irish time instead of 11:30 Irish time. Yeah. Which for a newspaper writer was just a dream.
It all fell into place for you.
It really did, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
And people have made the point that there's nothing redemptive about Woods or his story. And it's definitely a viewpoint you can make a strong argument for, and you can take different bits of evidence. Where are you in that whole area?
I don't think you have to like him as a person to actually just find the story utterly compelling. I mean, if you can take it at face value, that you go back 2 years that he was barely able to walk, couldn't find comfort lying down, to what he is now, if you can take that at face value, it's one of the greatest comeback stories in the history of sport. I mean, I thought I couldn't see him doing it in Augusta 11 years after his last major, because I think to go that amount of time without bringing it home, regardless of what he did in East Lake last September and that, no, I couldn't see him doing it. But I was watching him on the Sunday morning on the putting green, and he had the red shirt on, and he was so deliberate in everything he was doing, and he was stone-faced, and he was chewing the gum, and he was incredibly slow in everything he was doing. It was going to be at his pace, and it was like he was sending a message to Molinari, I'm in control of this. And when they were walking up the first fairway, I remember looking behind them, and Finau and Molinari and the three caddies were about 50 yards ahead of Tiger, who was walking on his own very slowly, like almost to the point where you're thinking, is there something wrong with his back? This doesn't look right. But he was playing the mind games even at that stage, that this is me in red on a Sunday, and I'm going to do it. And like Molinari sank that putt on the first, and you're thinking, this guy is, you're not going to get rid of this guy easily, Tiger.
It's impenetrable.
And he really had to wait until the 12th before he could do it. And the moment Molinari put that ball in the water on the 12th, you're thinking, and Tiger himself said it, this tournament has just flipped. This has changed dramatically. What we saw with him after that the shot on 16 to just nail it, you know, putting his tee shot to a foot or whatever it was. I don't know, in world sport, is there a tougher competitor than Woods? And the fact that he can come back 14 years after his last Masters, 11 years after his last major, and do what he did, and to see his two children running to him, I found myself getting emotional.
Yes,
I don't necessarily think he's a particularly nice person. In fact, I think he's a sociopath, probably. And we've all read the books about his meanness, and his, you know, his treatment of his wife was just shocking, beyond shocking. And yet I so wanted him to win. I don't know why. I so wanted that story. Maybe selfishly as a journalist, but also I just wanted him to win.
No, I know. I heard Malachy Kirkland on his At a Time podcast totally almost voice this weird relationship I have with Woods too, where he was saying he was watching him last year reading the Armin Katayan book, going, God, this guy's an arsehole. God, he's an arsehole. And then looking up, watching Woods and going, go on, Tiger, go on.
Yeah.
There's this weird, I don't know what it is,
contradiction.
Separation, contradiction.
Yeah.
With
I don't have it at all.
Woods and the art. Well, you used
No.
the word artistry in your piece on Monday, which I think captured just the. I don't know how we can compartmentalize the genius and the awfulness, and somehow he seems separate from it when he's on the golf course. I don't know how. It doesn't make sense. But I also kind of was willing him to do it, and found the bit with his children a redemptive and like nice for them as well, and like that family's been through hell. I found all that powerful, you know, and I thought his reaction was more vociferous than I expected it to be when he won. You know, I thought, God, maybe it revealed a little bit more that he actually has been in such a horrific place, because he really like milked it. I thought maybe he's revealing just how bad it's got for him, you know, and I kind of, it all combined, and I did think, God, there is something amazing about this. But then like 3 days on, I do still concede he's probably an asshole.
I just, like you, Vincent, as a journalist, I appreciated the story, but that was it. I thought, okay, that'll be nice now for everyone over there to cover that, but I didn't feel anything. I don't know why I couldn't get on board with him. Like, there's other sports people that have not been the best human beings ever, and
Yeah.
fine, but I don't know what it was about Tiger. I think maybe
Was that throughout his career, Marie?
since the incident since everything came to pass about what he was really like, maybe it's because I am a mother and a wife and I completely relate to Elin. I don't know what it is, but I couldn't celebrate the bad guy. I just couldn't do it.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because a female perspective is maybe very different to our perspective on this. And, you know, I read the book, the dual co-writer's book, on holidays in January, and my wife said, is that any good? And I said, yeah, I can't put it down. It's just the forensic detail is extraordinary, but I wasn't sure she'd read it. But she read it, and she read it in one sitting. She just could not put it down because his story is just beyond belief.
Beyond belief,
it really is beyond belief. Now, she thinks he's utterly obnoxious, and I can see that, and I don't think Joe and I are arguing for a second that he's not. But there is something almost once in a lifetime about what he's bringing to golf. And I think for the sport of golf, you can see the reaction of fellow competitors. They know that this is after giving the game an extraordinary lift.
And I appreciate all of that. And, you know, golf is back, the trending on Twitter, I imagine that he's going to be on the front of all the next video games and kids are going to want to be him. But when I watched it, I didn't feel anything. I just thought...
It's totally fair. I mean, it really is. He's a very polarising figure. See,
I just thought, what's really happening here? You know, as in we're seeing all this, we're seeing him hugging the kids, the emotion, but what's really happening underneath that? Is that the true reflection of his relationship with his family? Like, I was thinking, what does Elin think of this?
You see, at that moment, Marie, I wasn't thinking that deeply.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this in terms of sport, and as a sports writer writing the sports story, and I totally agree with you. There may be an underlying cynicism to having the children there and the young boy wearing a night top, and I get all of that.
Yeah.
But in terms of sports stories that you can cover or that you can witness, I think this is a once-in-a-lifetime story. This is a level of redemption in terms of your ability to do what you're known for and what you've made your name on, to come back from where he was. I can't think of a comparable. I mean, people have talked about Ben Hogan and...
yeah, beats Ben Hogan into the ground.
Absolutely. This has just gone to another stratosphere, and that's what I was taken with. And writing it, I wasn't making any moral judgments, and I did make the point in the piece that I don't think people want him to be a social worker, or they're not looking for a side to him that is kind or generous or decent. They're looking for that stare, and they're looking for that incredible competitive aggression which he brought to bear, and it's very, very rare to see that.
I did think of Elin, I must say.
Really?
I really,
Did
yeah,
you?
I thought penny for her thoughts right
Yeah.
now.
Maybe like you were there, Vincent, as well, so it's different than sitting at home watching it on the TV and watching the build-up and, you know, the cutaways. It is a little bit, you're a little bit removed from it, I think, and maybe if I was there, I would have been caught up in it and would have seen the stare and the rest. But sitting at home on the couch, I just couldn't get on board with it.
Yeah, I guess it depends probably to what extent you think the fallout from the marriage, the lying in bed for 2 years, the surgeries, realising probably he had no friends, realising he probably wasn't very highly regarded by people who didn't know him that well either. On some level, he must engage with the pain he's caused his children and is going to cause them as they begin to discover the internet in a big way. And he's ageing. Do you think he cannot be touched by all of that, like changed in some small way? I kind of find it hard to believe he's still the same arrogant, terrible person he was at 30.
I would also make the point that very few sports people in the history of sport have had their flaws so scrutinised and parsed, and the most forensic detail about how big a creep he is or was, whichever. You compare it to Arnie Palmer, one of the most loved figures in sport, but a known ladies' man, and used to go off to the Playboy Mansion, and all of this is common knowledge. And yet Arnie is
Mr.
loved.
Palmer.
Yes,
Yeah.
Mr. Palmer. And like there's a bit of a contradiction in how we view the two, because sport was never as scrutinizing in Arnold's time as it is now. And like, but if Woods can still trigger that reaction in people when everybody knows how big a creep he is, or was, well then, do you know, I think you just have to accept you're witnessing something remarkable.
Yeah, it was a good story.